Hi guys, good evening.
Hi Ram, good evening.
Am I audible to everyone?
Hey, good evening.
Anyone
Yeah.
confirm? Yeah, good evening. Okay. Just a second, I'll just share my screen. Okay. Fine. Today we are going to discuss about Ansible. Anybody having any idea about Ansible? Any basic idea?
Configuration management tool.
Okay. What is that advantage?
Uh, if you want to install anything in multiple servers, we can do it at a time.
Yeah, correct. That's correct. Actually, in generally, I'll tell one scenario. If any organization supposed to install any application in their infra, in the sense what they need to do, they have to take a remote of all nodes. Okay, so then only they can perform the installation activity. If not, in the sense, they can't do that activity. For example, not only installation, for package updation, any drivers installation, okay, any other service start or stop, okay, whatever, they have to take the remote of each node. Okay, then only organization perform that activity. Instead, if we use Ansible or other configuration management tool, in the sense we don't want to do like that. Okay, so we can simply configure on master server. Okay, we can simply configure on master server, and then we can map it to our node machines. In real time, in organization, so many node people is there. Sorry, no, so many node machines they are having. How they can take each machine as a remote. Okay, so instead, what they are doing, they are configuring this setup. Okay, they are once they establish the connectivity. Just a second, I'll just put this diagram. Okay. Yeah. So once they establish the connectivity, if any installation, whatever the package updation, security updation, driver installation, whatever, they can perform here. Okay, if they perform here in the sense that will be reflected into the node machine. For example, if I am installing any package like web server package, if I'm going to install here in the sense that will be reflected into here. Okay, using that Ansible command, using that Ansible command, I can perform this activity. Okay, so in generally, just a second, it's a master node, and then these are all our slave nodes, slave node. Okay. So in real time, so many configuration tools is there, not only Ansible. Just a second, I'll just type. So in real time, so many configuration management tools there, like first one is we can take Ansible, and second one is Salt Stack, and SCCM, the Chef and Puppet, but like that, so many vendors there for providing this configuration management. Okay, why Ansible is familiar in the sense, Why Ansible is familiar in the sense it's an open source. Okay, so Ansible it's an open source, so that in real time Ansible it's a familiar one, and then most of the organizations supposed to use Ansible. So Ansible, the advantage of Ansible, right? So the thing, just a second, I'll just increase the font. This will be okay. Ansible. Advantages. So here, first thing, it's an open source. Open source in the sense we don't worry about any subscription related things, payment related things. We can simply install the package in your machine, and then you can simply establish the connectivity like that you can perform. Okay, so it's an open source, and here the advantages is we don't want to take a remote of node machine at the time of first configuration. Okay, so if you take any Salt or Chef or Puppet, okay, so in that time, first time you have to take the remote of each slave machines. Okay, so inside of that you have to configure the client package. Okay, using the client package only you can establish the connectivity. But if you are using Ansible, right? So we don't want to perform like that. We can simply establish the connectivity using public key. Okay, using that public key, we can simply establish the connectivity. We don't want to take that, remote of node machine. Okay, so how we can connect? So those things today we are going to discuss. And in real time, two kind of configuration management tool is there. One is push based, and then another one is pull based. Yes, then what is the difference? First, we will discuss the push based. Okay, so real time Ansible and Salt and ACCM. Okay, so these are all push based tool. Like that in real time, so many vendors there. I'll just pick few only. Okay, so if you want to check, so many vendor in the sense, you can search it from Chrome. That's your wish. Then Puppet and Chef as well. So what is that push based and pull based, which is, just nothing. If any command, if you are pushing in that master, for example, package installation and package updation, whatever the command, if you are pushing here in a sense, that is something called push based scenario. Okay, so Ansible, Salt, SCCM, these are all comes under the push based scenario. Push based scenario in the sense, whatever the command, whatever the push command, you have to give it into your master node. Then what is that pull based? Okay, so pull based, which is nothing. Your node machine going to check your master node. If any changes is made, if any changes made it in our master node or not, like that, certain time of interval, for example, half an hour once, 5 minutes once. Okay, based on that interval time, it is going to checks your master node. Okay, if any changes made it in that master node in the sense, it pull the configuration from master and then it reflected into here. Okay, so that is what pull based configuration. Okay, so push based configuration doesn't. We are placing some commands here that will be reflected into your node machine, slave node. Okay, so that is what push based push based configuration tool. What if you see pull based in the sense, some certain time of interval it is going to check our master node. If any changes happen, it pull that configuration from master. Okay, so that is what pull based. So now we are going to set up this connectivity. Okay, so now I'm going to create two virtual machine. Okay, why? Because if I create multiple virtual machine in the sense that will take too much of time. Okay, so that this time I'll just create a 2 node machine and then 1 master machine. Okay. So anybody has any doubts in that? Ansible master slave configuration, push based and pull based. Anybody having any doubts or something? Can we go? I mean, shall we go with practical?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Fine. I'll just go instead of our AWS console. Okay. So this time I'm going to create 3 virtual machines instead of my Virginia region. You can pick any region, that's your wish. So this time I'll just pick that into Virginia region. So instead of easy. No instances that okay. So now I'm going to create a new instances. And this time I'm going to pick Linux VM. Sorry, Linux image. Okay, one more thing you guys have to know: Ansible mainly supports Linux-based system. Okay, so that this time I'll just pick Ubuntu. Ubuntu it's more convenient. So if you are using Amazon Linux, in the sense in some cases, M package, it's M module, it's it not work at the time of Ansible configuration. So that this time I'm just picking Ubuntu, and yeah. So yeah, this this instance type is fine. I'll just create the new keeper keeper Linux. I'll just give some name. So here I'll just pick this ppk. Create a keeper. So after that, yeah, we don't want to configure anything. We are not going to work with HTTP and HTTP, so that we can skip it. And the summary, yeah. So this time I'm going to create 3 instances. Okay, so one is going to be master, others going to be node. So that here I define 3. Okay. So and then one more thing, both nodes should be in the same operating system flavor. Okay, so if you are using any different operating system flavor, in the sense, in that time, it will throw in that error. Okay, that you need to ensure. And yeah, launch our instances.
Ansible supports only Unix operating system. I mean,
Yeah,
Linux flavor.
Linux flavors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any other for the Windows?
Windows I didn't try. And in generally, in organization, supposed to use with the Linux VMs only. I don't know
Okay.
about Windows, but generally it supports Linux. Okay, if you want to check it, more things, in the sense, just search it for uh, about Ansible like that. And you can search it in Chrome and then get some data.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Fine. This is going to be my master node. This is going to be slave node 1. So we don't want to take a remote of slave machines. So we have to configure the connectivity. First we have to configure the, sorry, not connectivity. First we have to configure the Ansible package in our master node. So I'll just using AWS CLI console for taking that remote. So if you want to use any putty instance that your wish, you can pick it. But the drawback is if we are going to use the AWS console in the sense, here we don't, I mean, here we can't customize any font size, only only black background is there. You can't change any font color like that, you know, you don't want to perform any GUI activity here. So that's the drawback. But otherwise, you can perform all CLI related commands here. So fine, we successfully taken that remote. So now I'll just move into the root user, sudo su. Okay, why? Because you know, this time I'm going to configure that Ansible package. Okay, so that we should have a root permission, so that here I define sudo su. I'll just pick the Ansible installation command from internet. Just nothing, just to search it like Ansible install on Ubuntu. Like that, if you search, some site will be there. Yeah. Okay, so here you can see DigitalOcean. It's a kind of a third-party site. You know, this as well, you know, gives more clarity to you. Okay, if you want to pick the commands from you know, official document in the sense, you can pick it. Here as well, you can pick it. Okay, so you know, installation will be, you know, very simple. You can simply update the package, apt package. Why? Because you know, this apt module. Yesterday we discussed the you know, cd, then mkdir, and then mv, cp, those kind of commands yesterday we discussed. Right? Today we are going to discuss one more thing, which is apt module. Okay, so if you are taking Ubuntu, right? So in that time you have to use apt module for installation. Whatever the package, you have to install. So sorry, you have to configure the apt module. By default, apt module it will be, you know, placed in your machine. If you are using any other flavors like Amazon Linux, CentOS, those kind of flavors, in the sense, in that time you have to use M module. I think somebody knows. I think. Okay, so in that time you guys have to update the M package. Okay, but you know, we don't want to worry about that. Why? Because you know, currently we are using Ubuntu. So fine, just before what I did, I updated that apt module, right? So now I'm going to install the Ansible. So first I have to add the repo. I'll just, you know, simply copy it and then paste it here. So and then you can simply install that Ansible. Okay. Okay, we successfully, you know, added the repo. So now I'm going to install my Ansible package. Just click it. Yeah, it asking for acknowledge. So now, you know, our Ansible is going to install. And then one more thing, if you are going to establish the connectivity, right, you have to configure the password authentication. Password authentication. What is that password authentication? It is nothing. If you are taking that, you know, instance as a remote, in that time you have to define the password. That is what, you know, password authentication. But here we can see we are not putting any password. If I simply click connect, in the sense, using that keypad, instance going to take the remote. Okay, so our, you know, our database console going to take that remote. Okay, we have to configure the password authentication. Then only we can establish the connectivity to master to node. Why? Because you know, whatever the actions, sorry, whatever the thing we configured here, if you want to you know, migrate those things to here, in the sense, it using that credentials only. Okay, simple thing. Whatever the activity, if you want to perform, for example, VPC creation, EC2 creation, if you want to see any IAM users data, whatever, you have to log in it, right? You have to log in it, then only you can perform the activity, right? Similarly, you know, here also you have to do something inside of slave machine. So in that time, you have to configure the password authentication inside of your node machine. Okay, so then only the activity will made it in your node mission. Okay. So yeah, I think our installation got completed. So now I'm going to take the remote of my slave machine. I'll just take this remote. Okay, so this one is my master node. Okay, in left hand side, this is my master node. In right hand side, it's my slave machine one. Similarly, meanwhile, I'll just take the slave machine two as well. Here you can see we successfully taken that remote. So now I'll just go instead of sudo su. Okay, so first I have to enable the password authentication. How I can enable? Yesterday we write one command, right? Win space slash etc slash ssh slash ssh underscore config etc slash ssh underscore config. Okay, this is that file. Okay, whatever the changes you have to make here. Okay, so inside of that file, I'm going to change the password authentication. Yeah, our file got opened. Yeah, here you can see permit root login. By default, it will be in disabled state. You have to enable it. And yeah, you have to change this one prohibited password into yes. After that, just here you have to enable the password authentication as well. Okay, enable the yes. Once you did that two things, you can save it in the file. Okay, if you are putting colon w in the sense, whatever the content you write it here, that will be updated. So you have to restart the SSH service system, CTL, restart. Start SSH. Okay. So once you refresh that, you have to define the password for your root user. So the command will be password passwd and then username, that is root. Just click it and then here you can see it asking me to define the new password. Just define some password. Okay, yeah. Now our password got updated successfully. So now I'm going to execute the same thing to my node machine. So this is root user and then put that camera. Then I just enable the permit root login. Why? Because we are going to authenticate via root user credential. Okay, root user with the credential. So that first you have to enable the root login. After that you have to enable the password authentication. Yeah. Escape colon w. Sorry. Let's refresh it. System CTL. So system CTL. Sorry. System. Yeah. System CTL. Restart. So now we can check that authentication. Okay, the password authentication is enabled or not. Like that, you can check it. How we can check it in the sense, which is nothing. You can simply put the command like putty. Before that, you have to download the putty from internet. Okay, then only this command will work. After that, you have to paste your public IP and then simply put at symbol. Just a second. Actually, this public IP comes back in at symbol. Okay, so here you have to define the route. Let's click enter. Yeah. So here we need to define the credential. Just check it. Yeah, we successfully logged in. So now I'm going to do the same thing to my slave 2. Just copy that and paste it here. Mm. Oh, sorry. I didn't give any root password here. I just give it like password root. Fetch. Now we can click on 3832396. This is the command. Just give it like 1, 3. Okay, we successfully defined the password authentication to your slave machines. Okay, so I'll just close this thing. Where is our master machine? So now I'm going to establish the connectivity. How we can establish? Using that key, we can establish the connectivity. Okay, so for that, first I'm going to generate on RSA file. Okay, that is what key. How you can generate a key? Isn't just define like SSH hyphen key gen space hyphen t. Hyphen t in the sense which is nothing, your terminal module, and then RSA. You have to define. Why? Because we are going to create a generate on RSA file. So that you have to define that this. I just configure the default location. Yeah, our file got created. So if you want to check the file is configured or not, in the sense you can look this location. Just copy that. Then cd space ls. Here you can see 3 files come out here. Authorized ID RSA, public key, like that, 3 kind of file come out here. So now I'm going to copy the credential. Okay, so now I'm going to copy the credential from my node machine. How I can copy? Okay, using that credentials only going to perform the activity. Okay, so for that I'm just copy the credential from here. Okay, the command will be ssh hyphen ssh keygen. This is ssh hyphen copy hyphen id space root user. Okay, so why? Because root user having the privilege to install any packages or update any service. Okay, like that, whatever the thing, root user having some high privilege, so that I'm going to pull the root credential. Okay, so here you have to define the node IP. Just to define the private IP. This will be executed. Just define it like yes. One file dot added. Okay. So similarly, I'm going to do something. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Here you can see it asking me to define my node machine password. Okay, just before I set one password, right, to my node machine, that I need to specify here. That is 2, 3. Yeah, here you can see number of keys added one. If you given any wrong one in the time, key is not going to be added. Okay. So just before what I did, I have added on 5. That is for my slave machine. Similarly, I need to do the same thing to my slave node 2. How I can configure the sense? You can simply copy the private IP and paste it here. Okay, so this is for tower slave 2. Just give enter. It asking me to define acknowledge. It asking me to acknowledge. Yeah. So this time I need to define my second node password. Here you can see 2 key got added. Here you can see known host. Okay, known host like that, one host file come over here. Okay, so instead of that, your credential going to be stored. Okay, fine. Just before we pull the credential from here, so then next, what is the step? Okay, so just before we are looking into the, sorry, just before we are comes under the keygen file. Now we have to go with the Ansible host file. What is that Ansible host file? Which is nothing. Inside of that host file only you have to configure the node machines inside of that host file. Then only whatever the Ansible command you are going to push, that will be reflected into your node machine. Okay, so for that, I'll just go inside of one file. That is, I'll just open one file. That will be in the location of etc/ansible/hosts. Yes, I think. Just a second, I'll just check the. Okay. Here you can see file got open. So inside of this file, I need to add my slave machine IP. Then only whatever the command, if I'm going to push in node machine, that will be reflected in, that command going to execute in your node machine. So first I'll just add my slave machine IP here. And similarly, I'm going to add my node machine IP as well. Okay, here I have added 2 private IP. Once you added, then only you can establish the connectivity. This is the final step. Okay, so first you have to create one key inside of master node, and then you have to configure the password authentication for your slave machine. After that, you have to copy the credential to credential to your node, and final thing, you have to add your node machine into our Ansible host file. Okay, so once you completed this step, you can simply click :WQ. Okay, I'll just clear the screen. So now I'm going to check the connectivity. Okay, so Ansible, Ansible connectivity is established. It's made it or not, like that. I'm going to check. Just define like Ansible. The command will be Ansible. Whatever the push command in front of, so in front of that command, you have to define Ansible. Okay, so Ansible and what is that? All in the sense it's going to ping all all public IP. For example, instead of that, I'm going to install any package. In the sense that package going to be reflected into all nodes. Okay, so that is what all. And then here I'm just using -m. -m in the sense -m means module. Instead of the Ansible, so many modules are like shell and then shell service like that. So many module is there. So this time I'm going to use ping module. Okay, so the advantage is ping module, right? For checking that connectivity, we can use this ping module. And just give this enter. We have to wait for some time. Yeah, here you can see we are getting the ping pong response. Ping pong response in the sense connectivity is established. Okay, if that instance may stop. Okay, if that instance may stop in the sense you will get the error notification here. For example, here I'm just adding one dummy IP. Here I'm going to adding one dummy IP. What will happen? Anyone tell? Okay, here I define one dummy IP.
It will not ping.
It will not ping.
Yes. Okay, you will get the output for first two node IP. But third IP you will get. Sorry, you will get the error in third IP. Okay, got it. Anybody having any doubts in this ping model? Shall we go next? Any doubt or concern? Any real-time questions you have? Okay.
In
Fine,
the same
guys.
way, we'll configure in real time also.
Yeah. Real time, some little bit thing will be different. Okay, so based on that, use case, it will be different. Okay.
Can you take some use case and explain it?
Actually, use case in the sense, yeah, I'll just explain it.
Yeah.
I'll just open my notepad and explain. Initially I explained one scenario, right? One of my client, just a second, guys. Okay. Just a second, guys. So one of my client asking me to set up one infra. Okay, sorry, asking me to set up one application. Set up one application in in their infra. Sorry, in their infra. No, their infra. Instead of my client infra, all machines will be Linux. Okay, Linux in the sense, in their infra, in client organization, developers, and then testing engineers, DevOps engineers, each and everyone supposed to use Linux. Okay, so why? Because so many things that it will be faster than the GUI operating system, and then it's more secure, and you don't want to face any uh, virus related things inside of Linux. Okay, so for that, and then it's more cost effective. Why? Because if you are using Windows or Mac license, we have to subscribe, we have to get the license. But if you are go with the Linux license, it's an open source. Okay, here we don't worry about that. So that all people supposed to use Linux, so that in their organization around 200 plus servers, around 200 plus servers they are configured the Linux. Okay, this is that reality. If you go in any organization, this is that reality. Okay, around 200 plus servers, 300 plus servers, they are configuring Linux machines only. Okay, so what they are asking, in weekend, they have to do some manual activity in their Linux machines. Like they have to update some packages. They have to fix any vulnerability issues, and then report collections and script file execution across the all Linux machines. Okay, so those kind of things, our client wants to perform. Okay, how they can perform? If we are using configuration management tool in the sense, we can perform that activity. Okay, so that thing is very simple. Okay, so if we want to configure in multiple machines in the same time, we can go with the configuration management. In real time, so many vendors is there. Ansible is the preferred one. Okay, why? Because this as well open source, and then we don't want to take node machine as a remote. Why we take node machine remote here in the sense, at the time at the, in AWS instance by default it will be uh, what is that? It will be uh, key pair authentication. Okay, by default it will be key pair authentication, so that first we have to enable the password authentication. That is enough. After that, you don't want to perform anything inside of your Linux, inside of your slave machine. Once you enable the password authentication, that is enough. Okay, so even we can configure this setup to on-premises VM also, on-premises virtual machine also, on-premises server also, in data server, sorry, in data center virtual machine as well, it's going to execute. Okay, so this is that reality, and then for achieving this scenario, we are using this answer. Okay, so the command, all command is similar. Okay, so all Ansible, all hyphen emping, all is similar. Okay, in somebody is using some slightly different command. Okay, all command going to execute the same thing. Okay, so here we can see just before what we did, we check the connectivity, right? Here, one more concept is there, which is groups. Okay, groups, which is nothing. For example, just before I said one thing, right? Instead of my client organization, developers is there, and then developer group is there, and uh, testing engineer is there, testing engineer is there, and what? Testing engineer, and then DB admin is there, DB admin group is there. Okay, so like that, so many group is there in real time. Okay, so for example, you have to update on package. Okay, so developers have to configure on package. Okay, so that package, it's dedicatedly for developer groups only. Okay, why? Because testing team, DB team, not going to develop any application. Okay, that is dedicated package for developing groups. So in the time, how you can achieve that? The sense which is very simple. Okay, so inside of that master node, we can simply create a small groups. In host file, you have to create small groups. Here on the host file, we can simply create a small groups. Sorry, test and DB. Okay, so inside of that group, you have to map the node. For example, this is my one of developers VM. Just put the small type, small. Just a second, I'll just put the diagram. Okay, so these servers are developer servers. Okay, so developer people's using these servers. Okay, so here testing people using these servers. Okay, similarly, database. Okay, so database people, using this server, DB admins using these servers. Okay, so now my recommend is I have to update on package to my developer groups only. Okay, so how I can achieve it in the sense we can simply use that developer. Okay, you can simply use the DEV command, DEV group in your command. Okay, so if you are using that command in the sense that will be that respective thing will be reflected into your developer. For example, if any testing application you have to configure, or else if you want to update any testing related packages in the sense, you can map that to testing groups. Okay, so if you are mapping the command to testing groups in the sense, what will happen? That respective thing will be made it in your node machines, testing node machines. Similarly, if you want to update any DB packages or DB engine configuration, like MySQL updation or Oracle updation, like that, whatever. Okay, you have to point it. You have to point it this DB in your command. Then only that thing will be reflected in your DB nodes. Okay, so how we can configure it? Just go inside of our host file. So this time I'm going to create a node. So sorry, this time I'm going to create a group. How we can create a group in the sense, which is nothing simple. We can just define square bracket. Inside of the square bracket, you can give your group name, developers, DB, and then DB. Okay. So just before I created two groups, one is DEV, one is DB. Okay, so this instance going to be comes under this development group. This instance going to be comes under this database. Okay, so this is that that unknown one. I'll just save that file. So this time I'm going to pick instead I'm going to give the command like DEV. If I give DEV in the sense, it is just redirect the ping command to developer node only. Here you can see it only ping this node only. Okay, so similarly, if I give DB command, sorry, DB group name here in the sense, it only ping the DB node only, DB nodes only. But it's going to execute it as our second VM. Why? Because here we define that our node mission. Okay, so if I define any sample sequence, in that time it won't reflected to here. So this now I'm again execute that DB. This time it only ping that DB instance. Because if you want to execute the ping function to all node mission services, just define it like all. If you define all missions, that respective thing going to be executed in our all node missions. Okay, so fine. I think time is about to end. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss that playbook configuration, how we can configure the package updation, and then vulnerability fix, report collection, script file execution. Those things tomorrow we will discuss. Anybody having any doubts in that? Anybody having any real-time questions, queries like that? Shall we wind up that today's part?
Yeah, okay then.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think someone turn on the mic.
Hey,
Okay.
questions around the course outline. Can you elaborate the course outline, what you guys are talking about for a couple of days?
Yes. Yeah. Tomorrow and then today and tomorrow we are going to discuss that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. So yeah.
Question.
Yes, bro.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry. I guess you had the session yesterday.
No. Actually, no. Today I have taken that answer. Yesterday I just taken that Linux basics one.
Can I have the syllabus of the whole course? What will be?
Yeah, you can check with the backend team. They will share it. Okay.
And when does this course will start, or is it start like this and it's going to run every week?
Sorry.
It's going to be every day.
Yes. Yeah. And then not Saturday, Sunday will be leave. Monday to Friday, daily basis only.
How many weeks?
Yes.
How many weeks?
How many weeks?
Actually, this will be 1 month.
Yeah, can you share the course outline and the details about
Yeah.
this?
Our
So we're
backend
gonna...
team share those details.
Okay, I'll request in the chat. So if
just
you can share the
reach this
information,
number.
that'd be great.
Just reach this number. They will share it. Okay.
Yeah, share in the chat all the information. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys. So fine, we can wind up the today's part. We can continue tomorrow. Okay. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, Ram.
Yeah. Thank you all.